Welcome to the Near Memo, a weekly conversation about search, social, and commerce. What happened, why it matters, and the implications for local.
Okay, so my issue item is quite.
I got a lot of problems with you people.
I'm having a tough week. Anyway, my item is really from an item that was in Wednesday's newsletter. Square becoming a bank. So Square has had, it didn't become a bank, but it owns a bank now. It had sort of Square financing options before, and we've talked about Shopify and Stripe doing similar things. But now Square has a bona fide bank where you can have a checking account, a savings account, and they give you other services, access to loans. So the three pieces are checking, savings, and loans, and there are no fees at all, no overdraft fees, no account fees. And I think it's a very, very powerful addition to their existing and expanding services lineup. And they may not be in a totally unique position, but they're in a pretty interesting space right now vis-a-vis sort of small businesses and providing a whole range of services.
Yeah, on the loan side, they have such tremendous insight into cash flow and operations that they can loan things more efficiently, more effectively, with less risk. So their loan profits should be higher.
Yeah, exactly. And they are much closer to the business than a bank because they're right at the center of that operation with their point of sale. I mean, my sense is, I think if you look at all the surveys, the CSAT surveys of banks, people hate their banks for the most part. And it seems to me that traditional banks, which have been trying to get into mobile payments and trying to upgrade their user experiences, are really going to get disrupted by companies like Square and Shopify and Stripe to varying degrees, because the market is ripe for that.
What's not to love about Wells Fargo?
Well,
they have some sort of disgusting discovery about once every 6 months, right? That's some cheating they did in the mortgage or in the credit cards or something.
Or Chase or B of A or any of them. They're all kind of horrible institutions.
The other question I have is 10 years from now, we're going to be talking about Square in the same way we're talking about Apple in terms of having aggregated so many services that they are now considered anti-competitive. Or Stripe or Square or one of these types.
Well, it's like you can do it until you get across some threshold of size and market power, and then you can't. But
I don't see Square anytime soon. I don't see them getting there to the level of antitrust. I think that there's so many point of sales out there, and plenty of big banks own point of sale systems, right? Didn't First Data acquire like 2 or 3 of them a few years ago?
Probably.
That's attached to one of these huge banks. So I don't see it, Mike, as raising any flags anytime soon at the antitrust.
I just think 10 years from now, when Stripe and Square and Shopify are the next big things,
right,
then it becomes a question.
It's possible. I was going to say, though, this is definitely a way to decrease churn because it's such a pain in the butt to change banks. As somebody who's done that a couple times in this past decade, as a result of some of these stories that you guys were mentioning earlier, as a consumer trying to vote with my wallet, it's a really hard thing to do. So I think it's really smart from Square's standpoint to really lock in their customers, and I think that they are providing a pretty good experience as a Square user, as well as somebody who's helped businesses set up Square websites and connect them to points of sale. I think that they're providing a good experience on both sides. So I think it's really going to, if anything, it will decrease their churn further from what I assume is already pretty low churn.
So when I was doing the books for Local U, I went to our local credit union, which is very friendly and has always treated me very nice with good car loans, although a lot of paperwork. And to get a $5,000 line of credit against an account that carried an account balance of $60,000 every month, except for the week of January
1st, right?
Right. Yeah. But every other month carried a $50,000 balance. It took a raft of paperwork and an amazing amount of cruft to get a $5,000 protection against the checking account. It was unbelievable. Right.
And the PPP loan saga that just played out over the last year a lot of small businesses got screwed in that, and a lot of the money went to larger enterprises who arguably didn't need the money, who were sort of savvier and able to take advantage of it, and a lot of the true small businesses had real trouble. And this a friendlier financing entity, as you sort of are alluding to, I think is going to be something that a lot of business owners recognize is important for them.
So, I mean, finance has always been something that companies do historically, right? Ford got into it, GE got into it, Apple's getting into it. And the question is it because growth has slowed in their core areas and they need this to, or has the market slowed, or is it just a good fit and they're doing it because it makes sense to do it? Is it where capital is best deployed, I guess?
I would suspect that there are a couple of things going on. There has been some slowing of point of sale adoption, and it's a natural extension of their product evolution, I think also. They started providing financing pretty early because they had access, they had visibility on the cash flow. And so this was a product they could offer, and I think this emerges from that. And it also is good for, it's good for their story to the public markets because, the number I quoted in the piece was that, some analysts had said that payroll, accounting and invoicing and, sort of this cluster of services is $500 billion in annual fees paid by small businesses. Whether or not that's literally true or sort of directionally doesn't matter. There's a big, huge pot of money there.
Right.
Sounds good.
Well, all right. It seems like a positive enough note to end on. That there's a huge pot of money.
I don't think we should fetishize positivity. It's appropriate, but not always.
Wow, you've really had a rough week.
No, it's just
you both know me well enough that I don't fetishize positivity.
My wife is up in Mendocino with a friend north of the San Francisco Bay Area.
Very nice.
It's very nice for her, and I'm sort of holding down the fort and doing all the stuff and working and got the pets and the kids and all of that. So
and the roofers.
The roofers have not come yet.
Oh.
But I can tell you, people who are watching this that want to know about roofing and want to know about solar installation, I can tell you everything you need to know.
I'm getting a geothermal heat pump put in this next month, so we can have a conversation.
So that's very interesting because I've been looking at heat pumps as well. So does it?
You guys can start an alternative energy section of nearmedia.co.
Well. Yeah, the heat pump doesn't rely on the furnace in the same way that, I have gas, and so it could shift over to electricity, which I could subsidize with the solar.
Right, although electricity in California doesn't seem like a very reliable deliverable.
Well, this is part of the apocalyptic mindset because the power grid is breaking down, right? You can't rely on a fundamental thing like that. It shows that the society is perhaps coming to an end. But we'll be back.
I worry about the telephone poles falling down. So.
Yeah, but society is coming to the end, but we're just getting started. This is one of the tech company cliches. Blah 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 blah. We're just getting started. So anyway.
Well, I don't know if that's a little grim even for my taste,
all right,
Greg, but with that we can say goodbye.
I think we should quit while we're quote ahead at this point.
Okay. All right. Anyway, thanks for listening. See you next week. As always.
Thanks, everyone.
Thanks for joining David, Mike, and Greg. To stay on top of the latest developments in local, subscribe to our newsletter at nearmedia.co. We'll see you next week.